Hello everyone, this is Prime Time here for SC2 HD TV in 2D, and this is going to be my first ever StarCraft 2 commentary, I guess. And before I get into anything about the game itself, I just want to mention that this whole channel is going to be dedicated to my playstyle and just to establish some credibility for myself. I am ranked 27 right now in Master League with about like 740 points, so I'm not great, but I am pretty good. And anyway, enough said about that. Let's get back to the point of this video. I know, these videos are basically just going to be my build orders and my playstyle, and the reason I felt like this would be an interesting idea to try to teach you guys some build orders is because I play, all these builds that I do are completely created for myself. You know, it's not like I watch some pro game replay and use their build order or anything like that. So all these build orders you're really not going to see anywhere else, and I figured I feel like my build orders is a lot of the reason why I am pretty successful. So enough about that. Introduce the players real quick. This is myself as the red Protoss, Prime Time, and in the bottom left we have Phantom, the blue Protoss. This was a very recent game that I played, but let's get right into the build orders. I'm just going to cover this pretty analytically for now, and I'll go over why in a second. So I threw down the Pylon at 9, obviously, as soon as the Pylon came up. Threw down a chrono boost. Put down the gateway at 13. As soon as you build that, throw down another chrono boost. And then a Pylon at 15. And then double gas at 16, which this is where you can see the build is going to vary from those typical Protoss PvP builds. I actually like to get the Cybernetics Court at 16 instead of 17, but either way, it just depends how early you want to get that out. I would say go for 16 instead of 17, but you'll see some fluctuation you can have with this build. So as of right now, I'm just going to go into the scouting factor of the game, and it's important to scout in PvP for as long as you can. Also, when you are scouting like this, keep an eye on the gateway. If you see it building something before the Cyber comes up, you know he's getting his Zealot first, which is pretty standard, so you can chill in his base for a little bit longer. And the reason you would do that is because, the reason I left, I should say, for now, is because I saw this gas building, but I wasn't sure if he's going to cancel that or not, because he has a lot of chrono boosts left over, so I went back in and just checked it out. Back to my base though, here's another interesting variation from what you typically will see. I'm getting a Sentry first and Warp Gate Research, and then you get another Sentry. I will have the exact build timings in the descriptions, so let me know how much of the build timings you want to see and all that good stuff. So the second Sentry is coming out right now, and I'm going to follow up the first gateway with 2 more. And as you can see, I can see a little bit of pressure coming my way, so I'm going to try to get ready for that to come through. And also, I want to mention real quick that for the first 5 games, most likely on this channel, will all be PvP, and they will all be. I'm going to feature 2 different build orders that I use, and I'm going to just sort of show you different games and different scenarios that you'll see when using these build orders. But back to my build order. After you get down your 3 gateways, throw down the Robo Bay, or the Robo Facility. I mix that up so much. Also, with these 2 really early sentries, you can afford the force field like 3 or 4 times, so this will buy you a lot of time in case your opponent tries to do an early pressure attack. And by the way, this is just a 3-gate that he's coming at me with, so nothing major. And I did mess up a little bit with the gas timing, I believe. And that's why this warp gate is a little bit delayed, so that does hurt this a little bit, which is why it's very important to get your early build timings down perfectly when doing this build, because if this was a 4-gate, I would probably have lost this game. Luckily, he only 3-gated me, so I can defend this fairly easily, despite the fact that I did make a couple mistakes. Try to keep these sentries alive, that's very important if you could do so. Decent micro by myself. And he's going to go for the mineral line. That's a good move. If you have zealots against stalkers, just try to kill a couple probes, because otherwise you won't be able to do much else. So also, one thing I want to mention, after you get down your cyber core, chrono on the nexus, because you're not going to be using the chronos on the... I actually don't use any chrono boost on the warp gate itself. And with that said, because I don't chrono the warp gate, by the way, Twilight Council after the Robo, because I don't chrono the warp gate research, you will have a couple chronos to play around with. And so if you see an attack coming, what I actually did in this game was I chronoed out a couple stalkers so I could hold that off easier. Something else you can do is chrono out an immortal, or you can chrono out your warp gate research, but really you want to be able to chrono this non-stop. And as soon as I have 25 energy, I should go ahead and chrono that again, because you're going to be going 3-gate Robo with a Blink Stalker build, and out of the Robo Bay, or Robo facility, all you want to get is Warp Prism and Sentry for a while. That's all you want out of this building. And by the way, the Observer I like to keep in the main base, because a lot of times Protoss players will send their Observer out across the field, and they will try to get a scout off, and if they do that, you can pick it off by warping in some units. And it looks like he doesn't have an Observer quite yet, so enough said about that, I guess. And it looks like my Nexus is going down around the 8.5 minute mark. That's typically when your Nexus should go down in this build, even though I had a little bit of I had to build a few units at the beginning. Now the Warp Prism, this is very important to note. I have 3 Zealots and a Sentry, and one reason why you get early Sentries is because when you put a Sentry in the Warp Prism, it will have like 2 to 4 force fields, depending on if you had to force field this ramp in the early stage of the game. And it looks like our opponent, Phantom, is just now getting his Nexus down, and I'm moving across the field with a few Blink Stalkers and a Sentry. It actually looks like I'm ahead in the food count despite the earlier Expo timing. And the Robo Bay is just now coming down for myself. The Warp Prism is still just chilling back behind his mineral line, just getting ready to deploy into his base. And right now I just want to pause this for a second. You can see he's positioned here because he's worried about some sort of drop, I'm guessing, which was a smart play by himself. So I'm going to poke down here to see if he has an expansion, and he has it on the way right now. And when you come down here with your units, if you see nothing here, focus fire the Nexus as much as you can, and use these Sentries to force field the ramp. With that said, also you should have proxy pylons set up a while before you move down here. That was a pretty big mistake that I made. And just note that I am not sending the Warp Prism in yet, so let's go ahead and see what happens right now. And force field to keep them back, you should just run back a little bit and kill the Nexus off, instead of letting my units take a couple hits. A bit of a mistake there. Now, I've kept his units back. He knows he can't get down this ramp. And since he's trying to get down the ramp, I go ahead and send the Warp Prism in, and I will show you exactly where you want to place out these force fields. You should try to unload the Sentry first. I've made a mistake, but oh well. Force field here, force field here. You'll do that in every single situation. And then I'm going to go ahead and run away. Now, if he tried to leave through like this alley or this alley with all his probes, just throw down a force field in either place. And let's go ahead and see how many workers I killed. 15 right there. Typically, you'll kill about 5 in Masters League versus Terran or Protoss, because I do Warp Prism drops in both matchups. Now, he already called out the GG, and here's the reason why, because this is one situation where this build order, this early pressure, really paid off. And you can see I was going to kill that Nexus, and he would have been in a really bad position there. So we will see the follow-up to this build in the next video, and I will go ahead and give some more introductory thoughts to these sort of builds in that video. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. It's my first ever StarCraft 2 commentary. Hope you guys enjoy it, and another PvP to come in a second.